Hello, and welcome to another video on Audio Geek. I'm Luke P, and today I'm going to show you how to properly set up the Pro Tools mixer for any kind of audio task. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing to get more tutorials on Pro Tools and audio production techniques. Let's get started. The method I'm going to show you works for any size setup and can even be used if you have an analog mixer in your setup. I know Pro Tools may look very daunting at first, but it really is quite simple to have a one-size-fits-all template for anything you need to do. By sticking to one consistent setup, we can ensure that we won't have any issues during our sessions. It'll also make it easy to troubleshoot any problems should they occur. I'm going to show you how to build 3 track presets that will allow you to tackle any audio production task you need to do efficiently. The first preset is a mixer master section preset that will allow us to route all our signals to a common summing bus, print both our mix and master in case we're doing mix mastering, and to have fine control over our main outputs. The second preset we're going to build will take care of setting up our cue section to allow us to create a separate cue mix for the artist. Then our final preset will take care of setting up our stem buses to allow us to interface with both our cue section and master section, while also giving us fine control over different parts of our mix. First, let's open up a brand new session. If you don't have the startup dialog, you can hit Ctrl-N or Command-N to get the new session dialog. For this tutorial, the settings here don't really matter. Name the session Template Master for future reference in case you need to tweak any of the presets later on. Now we have a blank session to work with. You should have a click track already created for you. Next, we're going to create the following tracks. 2 stereo aux input tracks named Mix Bus and Bus Compressor. 1 stereo audio track named Unmastered. 1 stereo aux input track named Master Bus. 1 stereo audio track named Print Master. 1 stereo master fader track named Sigma. With the tracks created, we now need to set up our routing. Select all tracks and remove both the input and output. You can do this easily by holding Option on Mac or Alt on PC and selecting the No Input and the No Output option in the drop-down menu. Route the output of Mix Bus to the G-Bus track, then route the output of G-Bus to the Master Bus track, and set the output of Master Bus to your main outputs. Then hold Ctrl on Mac or the Windows key on PC and add a second output from G-Bus to Unmastered, and from Master Bus to Print Master. Set the output of both these tracks to a dummy bus, or preferably to a physical output you don't use. On your master fader track, select your main output. On your click track, add a mono send to send bank A and name it Cue Click. Set it to pre-fader at unity gain. Remember to set your click track to your main outputs as well. Finally, you will want to solo save all tracks by holding down Command on Mac or Control on PC and clicking the solo button. Set all tracks aside from the master fader to no color. Now we can add any plugins we will use in the master section. In my case, I use SonarWorks Reference for room correction, which I will insert on my master fader track. I will also add an SSL G-Bus compressor to my bus compressor track, a Manley Variable Mu, Manley Massive Passive, and Ozone 9 to my master bus, and several instances of master meter to check for clipping. On my mix bus, I usually start my fader at -3 dB to give myself more headroom to work with before my bus compressor. If your plugins add latency to your system, I recommend disabling them with Command plus Control and clicking on the insert, or alternatively, Control plus Windows and clicking on the insert on PC. This setup lets you have a consistent summing bus setup that you can always use and expect similar results every time. It allows you to print both mastered and unmastered tracks, and also lets you have fine control over the gain structure on your summing buses. With the previous template set up, we're then going to set up a cue section template. Create the following tracks: 1 mono aux input named Cue Click, one stereo aux input named QStem, one stereo aux input named QVox, one stereo aux input named QFX, one stereo aux input named QBus, and one stereo master fader named Q Sigma. Route the new tracks as follows. The output of QFX, QStem, and QVox to QBus track. The output of QBus to your main Q output. Set Q Sigma to your main Q output. Finally, set the input of QClick to the mono QClick send we created in the first preset, and the output of QClick to your main Q out. Do not save the preset just yet. So this setup allows us to create a separate Q mix for the artist without having to fiddle around with the small faders on the sends. It is similar to working on a split style analog mixer where you have the input section and the monitoring section. For the final template, we're going to set up all the tracks that will feed our mix bus and set up the inputs to our Q section. You will want to create 4 stereo aux input tracks named Drum Master Bus, Instrumental Master Bus, Vox Master Bus, and Effects Master Bus. Feel free to abbreviate the names. Also create a VCA master track named All VCA. Select all of the aux input tracks and set the output to the mix bus track. Now on the drum and instrumental bus tracks, set send A to the input of the Q stem track. Again, set them to unity gain and pre-fader. Then repeat the procedure on Vox and Effects bus tracks for QVox and QFX respectively. Next, group all tracks with a mix group named All Stem. On your VCA master fader, set it to the group you just created. This allows you to control how hard you hit your mix bus with your stems while also allowing you to control each stem individually. Now select the Q section tracks and save as a new preset. Repeat the procedure with the stem buses. Also save your master section preset to a new preset. Whenever you start a new session, clear any tracks and recall the stem buses, master section, and Q section presets in this order, or save a 4th preset that includes all 3 presets. Alternatively, you can save the session as a template and start from the template every time. So to wrap it up, hopefully you've learned a new method to set up the mixer so that you don't have any problems during any kind of session. This should really help streamline your workflow. Whenever you start a new session, you can just add these templates to suit whatever need you have. And if you stick to this method, you won't have any routing issues during your sessions, you won't be chasing around to add new tracks or anything like that. You'll just be ready and set to track, edit, mix, and master instantly. You can also adapt this template to whatever setup you're using. If you're using an analog setup or a hybrid setup, you can just substitute the virtual buses with physical outputs and you're all set. If you like this content, stick around, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get notified whenever we post new videos. This is the first tutorial on the channel, but there are many more to come. Peace, and I'll see you on the next video.